Alright folks, back out with doing a little bit of Trout Spey. Still running my 4-weight 11-foot switch. But today what we're gonna do is cover some water. We're gonna fish some streamers, show a little bit of streamer technique. aka the little black catch-all leech is what's gonna be the featured creature. However, I'm getting middle of the day. I'm gonna make excuses. I'm in the middle of the day here. I don't expect anything from the fish. But what I'm going to do is run the cameras, cover some water, talk some techniques, show some little techniques you can deploy with the Spey, with your Spey rods this time of the year. So I'm going to hit a few different pieces of water, talk about what I do, and see if we can cover something. And who knows, maybe I'll get lucky and catch a fish. I doubt it. But this time I'm into small little creaky stuff where these little Spey switches come in really handy. And since it's the middle of the day, I'm not going to mess around with some wet flies. I'm just going to put on a chunk of meat and maybe something will have a meltdown and chase it. I doubt it. But anyways, this is all about technique and putting these things to work. So follow along and let's see what we can do. Alright, a little bit of equipment rundown. Like I said earlier, this is a 11-foot 4-weight switch rod. And I can't remember the line that I have on it, grain white. It's a 2 something, probably a 240, 260. But what's more important right here, I want to go is for streamer fishing. I like to run a little Skagit on everything, because what I got, usually our streamers are a little bit bigger, a little bulkier. They take a little bit more thump to turn them over, and a little bit more low drive, and usually our Skagits will work pretty good. Plus the other thing is I like to run a poly leader to help get the fly down, because I want to fish fast. I want to get the So I want a little bit of a leader to drive the fly deep. Then I'm stripping it. I want to keep the fly at depth. So a poly leader hand's pretty good. And I run about 4 or 5 feet of fluorocarbon leader off the fly. But in this case, you notice the orange little tip on this. Well, I went to get this rod ready and I realized I misplaced my Skagit driver. Oops. And this rod has a skeiny on it. This is a skeiny. So what do? I'm going to be turning over a poly leader and a bigger streamer. The way this rod is set up, it's not going to turn that over. It turns over small wet flies beautifully. It just does not turn over these streamers and these poly leaders with a skeiny. So I'm not going to say, well, I can't fish it because I don't have the right line. No, I'm going to fish this thing. So what I did, and here's a real little gear tip, is what I did is I pulled that skeiny off and put it on backwards. So now I created an emergency Skagit. Yeah, I got the little orange end here that's usually our indicator line to where your rod tip is, your fly line to your rod tip. Alright, the fish ain't gonna care, that's far enough away. But by putting it on backwards, I created a skeiny head. Now a Skagit head. Your skeinies are longer than your Skagits. So what you have to do is the tip of your skeiny, you got to pull it back into your rod. So you got to play around the casting. In this case, I got to have the tip of the skeiny head in my hands. Then the rod and everything casts just fine. It may not be the prettiest casting, but hey, we're fishing. So here's there's a kind of a workaround. Is just put the skeiny on backwards and go fish. So that's what I did. So if my casting looks a little goofy and wondering what that orange tip is all about, that's what's going on. I put the line on backwards on purpose, so I can fish. I can fish streamers. So that's a little bit of a tip of these things, and I do it with not just with Trout Speys, I do it with everything. So it's a quick little workaround. And we're talking about turning this little critter over. It's got a bead on it. And I've been fishing a little bit. It's about an 8, but it's still got a rabbit strip. It's got some water resistance to it. So sometimes you need, on these light trout rods, you need a little bit of drive. And really quick, a lot of people ask what I use for running line. On this particular reel, I got 15-pound mono and a chartreuse. The reason why I use mono is, and I'll say this often, is because it's a Trout Spey, and sometimes I'm fishing like 5X, really light stuff and little small wet flies. You get a big fish on, they get out there. I got that mono cutting through the water instead of a fat fly line, so it's less line drag on the tippet. So that's why I like it. It's a little bit cumbersome to get used to, but trust me, it doesn't take long to get used to handling the line. Alright, let's get on the water. Alright, presentation on this spot. So it's kind of tight, so it's easy to overcast. And also some of the structure that I want was pretty close. So you can see I was just doing a simple little roll cast, letting the fly swing a little bit, then twitching it in. And because the fly, the tip, and everything was so close, that when I picked up, I was actually using a little bit of line drag on the water to pull the line out of the rod from the rod tip. So I'd have enough line outside the rod tip to perform a, somewhat of an excuse of a cast. So the whole idea with here is just efficiency. All right, a quick little roll cast, a crappy little off your side spey cast. I'm going to pour a very bad excuse of a double spey cast. Get it out there and then just keep stripping in, because I'm fishing on the strip of these streamers. I want to, I want to get the fly and cover that water, so I end up being really close to the rod tip. So by just kind of dragging the tip around, dragging the line out, when I go to pick up an initial start of the setup, I can get some line outside the rod tip, make a simple little short cast, and just keep covering and keep moving. And of course, it's the middle of the day. I don't expect to see much, but also with this light and this clear water, I can keep an eye on the fly and see what's going on. There we go. Have a quick little look at this guy and we'll get him on his way. Look at that, middle of the day, kind of in a shady spot. Woof that streamer down. Awesome. One last look at our friend, and see ya. There. Well, that was a surprise. I didn't really expect to catch a fish this afternoon on this. Doing it, like I said, middle of the day, middle of summer, bright sunny conditions, just on a tail end of a heat wave. And a lot of these springs in here are really doing a nice job keeping this water cool. Folks, I think this water is under 60. Probably more like about, probably 55, 58. And you can tell the way that fish put up a stink and took off. It was in good shape. But anyways, you can see in this technique here where I was just kind of taking advantage of switch rod under the trees. And yeah, we got a fish. Awesome. This is a tight spot. We're underneath a big willow tree. As you can imagine, there is no room for a back cast. So what I was doing, is I'm kind of whatever works, make up a cast, create something, just get it there. And I was fan casting, just one cast, one presentation, just next one down a little, down a little, down a little, downstream, downstream, downstream for each cast. And then putting, and of course working the strip. And in this particular spot, there's a little bucket. I actually know this water incredibly well. There's a break in the bedrock in a bucket. And I was basically staying out of the sun because I don't want to be in the sun. And streamer fishing or fishing a streamer through that bucket. And that allowed me to just kind of cover that run. Basically, I could stay in one spot and just fan cast and just use my casting and my line handling. Now for the casting, I was doing more some sort of upstream thing, since I had a big old willow tree down on my downstream side and being right-handed. So I was using a variation to just drag it up, horrible upstream cat arm parry poke to a cat arm, flip it up, circle C, just whatever worked and could keep me out of the trees and get a fly in there. Once again, I didn't have to do a long cast, but with this little switch rod, it allowed me to do the cast and get into the water, make the presentations without being hung up in the trees, and cover it and not have to be on top of the fish. Alright folks, I think I'm going to shut the video down. What I wanted to do is just go through and just show some techniques of streamer fishing in a smaller creek with basically a trout switch spey setup, and also touch on what I do when I forget my Skagit head. But anyways, this is just one little insight to some streamer fishing techniques that I'll use with a little spey rod or a switch rod in these smaller creeks. Basically, I like to switch in little creeks. It kind of sizes up the rod, smaller creek, smaller rod deal. But anyways, so here are a few techniques. We managed to get a fish. I showed you how I cover some water, a little bit of casting. Once again, the casting here wasn't pretty because I didn't have the right line for the rod. Also, when you get in these tough little situations, you just kind of have to make things work, like a lot of times when you're fishing. So the cast might not be pretty, but the important thing, does it get it there, and can we fish comfortably and efficiently? And that's what I kind of wanted to show with this little switch rod. So anyways, I hope you found it interesting. There's more spey trout stuff coming, so hit that subscribe button, hit that bell icon, so you know when we get the video up you can be notified for it. Also, if there's something you want to see on this subject, or if you like this subject, or please just leave a comment. We do listen to your comments very carefully. We love to get your suggestions for future videos and what you might like to see with the Trout Spey, which we're going to be doing more series as summer goes on. So anyways, see you on the water, folks. Good fishing to you. Hope you enjoyed it. This is Jay at JPEG Guides and Lost River Fishing. We are a year-round fly fishing catch and release guide service. We fish the Lake Ontario tributaries, and then during the spring and the summer we also fish the inland trout streams, classic dry fly fishing. During the heat of the summer we will do the warm water fishing for bass and pike. If you're interested in any of our outings or have any questions, please feel free to email us at fish@lostriversfishing.com. Hope to hear from you, and if you have any questions, feel free to contact us.